really excited that for today and for the next several Wednesdays in December, we are doing something a little bit differently for Top 5 Wednesdays. Because if you've been wondering or looking, wanting to get manga for people in your life, whether that be friends or family, hopefully these upcoming gift guides will help you out a little bit. Hello friends, happy Wednesday. So very excited that you're here. As I shared earlier this week, it is the 25 days of shoujo manga, so everything we'll be talking about from this point, well, from December 1st onward for the next 25 days is all about shoujo manga. And if you haven't already voted in my forum/poll of best shoujosei debut of 2025, be sure to check out the link below and get your vote in. It will be all month long. So yeah, I decided to do something differently, mainly because I've seen friends, other YouTubers, and I've just seen different websites do these like holiday gift guides where, you know, if you're not really sure where to start or what to get and you're wanting to gift manga, I should say, and you don't know where to start, that these gift guides can help point in a direction that's just helpful to the person viewing it. So I thought I would do the same, and we'll have like different genres. I got some suggestions a while back, and I think that is the last gift guide of this month. And if you're curious about the schedule of this month, be sure to check out this video here because I did include the whole entire month schedule. But this week I'm going to be doing historical reads. I don't know if anybody nominated this or if this was just something I personally wanted to do, because I do have a video review coming up this Saturday of a historical read. I decided not to include it today, mainly because I sort of realized it's hard to find, and I wanted to do titles that are easy to find because, you know, when you're shopping for Christmas, you're not wanting to wait for something to come back in stock with no kind of certain guarantee that it will arrive on time, that it'll come back in stock in time, none of that. So my picks today are all very different. These are not necessarily like top 5 picks for me personally, because there is one of them that I unfortunately dropped because it was just not for me, but I do feel it would be a great read for other people, especially if they love historical stories. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. So for number 1, I'm going to say The Emperor's Caretaker. I know that Square Enix has mentioned that if you like Apothecary Diaries, chances are you will like this. I don't really feel that's necessarily true unless you like that Chinese inspired kind of setting, because it's about our main female lead, blanking on her name right now. She is the daughter of somebody that's very important in the palace court. Her father basically is making her get married to, or at least not, if not get married, at least put herself in a position where she is considered as a potential concubine, a future wife, something that's going to lift this family standing by going to this meeting that's happening. But it's a little weird because not only is this the future emperor, which would be good, until you hear that he's 5 years old, and when she goes and she sees all the other women that are here, they're not women, they're young children. And so she's like, we'll say at least 10 plus years older than everybody. And that brings me to say of why I'm choosing this one, because she is such this wonderful, strong heroine. Her father is like, go out there, get married to this young emperor. Who cares about his age? You're just gonna help our family standing. And he's like, you need to hide your real personality. And she's like, no, I won't. So she finds herself in these situations, like she's playing this one certain musical instrument, it ends up breaking. I think somebody accidentally broke it, one of the other young girls, as they're waiting to go meet the emperor and whatnot. So this young man, who we find out is going to be the male lead, sort of swoops in. He's not the kindest of guys. He's very standoffish, and she feels like he's making fun of her. I sort of feel he was too, honestly, but he helps her. And there's some things with the male lead, so I won't touch on any more about that. But that brings me to say too that it will eventually have a romance. I've only read volume 1 and a little bit past it. But I really think that yes, if you do like that Chinese inspired setting and you like the inner court politics and drama kind of thing, because I have heard that increases as the series goes on, this is definitely it. But I feel like it stands out among historical reads and choosing it for this video because it has, I kept wanting to think found family, but found family is not right, but it has these family vibes. And because she's being her real self. And especially if you do love when heroines are like, I'm not going to bend to whatever these men are saying I need to act, and I'm going to be how I want to be. And if they don't like me, that's their problem. Like, girl, yes. Girl, yes. It's actually her acting that way, being her real self, that woos over this 5-year-old Ember, because they ask her, hey, will you be the caretaker for him? Not even in there for romantic stuff, so don't worry, because originally that was my worry when I first started the manga. But she is so sweet to these children. Like, we see that when she interacts with the young girls. We see that in her interactions with the young Emperor, and I loved it for that. Those moments were my favorite in this manga. So if you really enjoy maybe, I guess, a caretaking role and seeing these different relationships that are not romantic, I mean, there will be one romantic, but all the others are not. It's very, I'm hesitant to use the word sweet, but it does have very sweet moments. And again, I know I've already mentioned about this female lead, but I really loved and I was inspired by how she stood up for herself when her father was so angry that she didn't hide that real personality at all, because she's very outspoken, very determined, and I would say also pretty gun-ho. I mean, she's respectful, but she definitely doesn't let herself get put down either. So definitely would recommend it for all those reasons right there. On the flip side, for number 2, if you're not really wanting any kind of romance and you're wanting something that's, yes, maybe inspired by historic events or history in general, and you want it to be very, I would say, very history heavy, A Witch's Life in Mongol is one that instantly came to mind when thinking about this video. This, unfortunately, was the one I dropped. It was just a series not for me. I think this is a really good one for someone, say, that is not really reading manga. This could be maybe their introduction, and they don't want something that maybe has the, I don't even know what that would look like, but the typical manga vibes. Like, I've heard people say that this has more of a cartoon-like style, which is not a bad thing, and it can help bridge that gap for readers who say are coming from comic books or just not really into graphic novels. I mean, it's still a manga, but maybe there's just a different kind of transition there. I can't say I related to that because I was already reading manga before then, and I actually struggled that it didn't have that traditional manga art style that I'm familiar with. But it's about a young woman. She has found herself in a position where unfortunately she is a slave. This takes place in, I think it's like 13th century Mongol, the empire. There's a lot that is happening. There is a really great king who was, I guess, well known or is going to be on the rise during this time. I'm not familiar with this era of history or anything related to it, so I'm trying to base a lot of it on memory of what I read from the blurb this morning. But she ends up coming into this family and she meets this very prestigious character who actually we know in real life. I don't want to say who it is, but he was a real person. So when she meets him, he gives her these words of, rather than acting the way she has because they're trying to help her, and she's just like, what's the point? Her whole family is not with her. I can't remember if something happened to them and she's now alone, but she has a lot of anger. And he gives her an example of how if she not make herself smarter, but how wisdom and gaining new knowledge and learning can really aid and help her grow in her position. So he shows her this example of what he means, and she's blown away of how transforming it was. And so she decides to change. She decides to start learning how to read and taking in all of this information when tragedy strikes this family that she's been sort of, I feel like, adopted in. Maybe not in a actual legal sense, but I would say in their hearts. And they are invaded by another country, and she is taken off as a slave again to a different country. And that begins her story. It was very, I think somebody said in a review that I read, it's like a history book, but with comics. I think it's a little bit extreme, but I definitely feel if you love history, if anybody you know loves history and they would just thrive off of that, this first volume really sets the foundation of everything that's happening. Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. The female lead is a very interesting character, and I've heard it only gets better and richer in the history details and the relationships and the different things that are just going on. It seems like a really rough time because there's the fear of invasion, there is attacking other countries, and the person that she's going to be under is I think a very prestigious woman in history, and they work together. I believe the blurb says that they work together to transform the history that we know. Now again, this is all, I don't don't want to say liberties have been taken. I mean, I don't know how much liberty has been taken, but I know it's very historical based and inspired by real events. So I think, yeah, if somebody really enjoys that, that's another great reason to pick this up. I believe volume 2 is out. I haven't seen anybody pick it up or read it, but I know there was a lot of excitement for when this first got picked up and licensed by Yen Press. So that was the reason this one came to mind, of that history is just so immersive and so deep. I really feel like strong history lovers that are here, yes, they're here for the story, but they want to see that history come to life through fiction. Yes, 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 yes. For number 3, I hope I could do this series justice because I am fully biased. I love this series so much, and that's the eccentric doctor of the Moonflower Kingdom. This is I think they said like a historical Chinese-inspired story, and I think that would be very accurate to say. It is about our female lead, Kyoyo, who is sort of a doctor, or training under a doctor, her father. The prince here, he is sort of on the run. I can't remember why he was on the run in this series, but he ends up meeting Kyoyo, and his right-hand man is severely injured to the point where like he could potentially die if he does not get medical aid right away. But the thing is, in this world, they don't really get medical aid in the sense of going to a doctor, performing surgery, getting, say, maybe antibiotics. They go to a religious sect and they pray and they ask that the gods have favor on them, and if they get better, then the gods did have favor upon them, and if they don't, then I guess it's a really horrible thing to be that person right then. And so this is all really groundbreaking when he meets Kyoyo, and Kyoyo's like, hey, if you want me to save your friend, I need to do surgery right here, right now. And he's like, surgery? He almost like passes out, and he's blown away at that how she took care of him through medical means and actions, that this could be revolutionizing the entire country, or it could. So he convinces her very easily to come with him to the capital because she doesn't know he's the prince. And she loves muscles. She is a muscle fanatic, and he says, you know, if you come with me, you could see all the muscles you want. The muscle buffet, I think is what he says, or all the muscle brawn, the brawn buffet, something along those lines. And she said, I'll go. And so begins this story. I have talked about this series a lot on this channel. I love it deeply, and I have mentioned I do feel that if you like Apothecary Diaries and you want something more sort of a shoujo equivalent, but it doesn't have the actual harem that's in the inner court, it doesn't have that, then I think you would like this. I have heard it's very hard for several friends who are a huge fan of Apothecary Diaries to come into the series because it doesn't hit the same, but I feel like this series hit very great for me, and hot take, but I personally love it more than Apothecary Diaries. I'm sorry, fans. I'm sorry. No hate to the Apothecary Diaries. I just really enjoy Kyoyo's actions. I love that she loves muscles, and I really love how the romance is very slow burn. Oh, guys, I think I have a package. Sorry, the mailman just came up. Let's see. Let's see if it's a package. She's got a box and a package, so I will get that in just a second. I don't know if it was Books A Million. Anyway, I do apologize. I do apologize. Alas, no manga for me. There was no manga in those packages, so that was a little bit sad. But anyway, back to Kyoyo here. So yeah, I think if you're just looking for something that's in the similar vein as Apothecary Diaries, yeah, this is a really good one because Kyoyo is very quirky, not just because of her love of muscles, but there's times when she is being a doctor and she's helping people, and it's like, you're weirding me out a little bit. Like these expressions she has, like it's a little bit dangerous, and there's at times where she's like, oh, I've never done this before, and they're like, oh, you've never done this before, and here we have some kind of surgery happening. Like, that's not really encouraging at all. And also it has that really nice balance of action and adventure and politics, which is really surprising for me because I really struggle if the politics is too much of the focus. It just goes over my head. Like, it's not just a struggle with this series, with any series. Like, I just have that struggle. This one I found it was not really anything hard for me to comprehend, and was able to sort of remember, not necessarily names, but remember like, oh, this person is sort of the bad guy, or this person is doing this. But overall, I really love it, and I think it's just a fun historical read to pick up and enjoy. If you want that quirkiness and you want to see a little bit of medical stuff, because I have learned some interesting medical things along the way that I'm like, thank you that we have better medical stuff today than we did back then. Like, whew, thank you, because I don't think I would be able to handle that in this story. The series has literally gotten better and better as it's gone on. Number 4, I know like on my calendar, I have a mystery supernatural gift guide that's going to be near the end of the month, but I really felt that this one would be so fitting for today, despite that technically it could fit in that one as well, and that's Yusatoki Rhetoric. This is a historical manga that takes place in the Showa era, I believe. It's 10 volumes and complete. I actually have the manga somewhere. Oh, no, it's behind me. Yes, it is 10 volumes and complete, and I love it so much. It's such a good one if you want a historical setting and you want that mystery and very slow burn, almost not their kind of romance. It's really not to the end of the series that we see it unfolding. It is about our main female lead. Her name is Kaneko, and the thing that makes this interesting is that she can hear lies. When she hears a lie, a certain sound goes off in her mind that she can hear, and she knows that that person is lying. And as she was growing up, she would call out people who were lying, and that got her very strong unfavorability among her village, among people around her that really didn't like that she knew when they were lying. And so she ends up leaving her village, goes off on her own, and as she's really hungry, she comes across this place. I forgot how exactly they meet, but she ends up meeting a detective, Soma, and he finds out about her ability, and he's like, it'd be crazy if I didn't hire you and have you work with me to help solve these different mysteries. So that's pretty much this series as we travel around and visit different people and seeing Kaneko not only grow as a female character and grow more confident in her ability, and seeing her go up and down as well. Like, she felt like such a realistic heroine to me, and I just, there were so many times I wanted to give her a hug because she's just really struggling in that confidence, but yet here she is going on these mysteries. She's learning new things about her abilities. She's learning new things about herself as a person and what it would mean if, say, if she didn't have this ability. Also, the conversations about lying and why somebody would lie, why they would know the truth but not tell the truth even though they're not really lying. All really great conversations that I feel has an unexpected deeper element to this series that may be very surprising. I know it was for me personally. I never expected that, and there were often times I found myself really emotional and very touched by the things that she's learning, because I'm like, oh, you know, that makes sense. Sometimes lying, yes, is wrong, but sometimes it's also not so black and white either, and this series really explores what that looks like. And also the mysteries that they solve are really engaging. Sometimes early on in the series, I think most of them are only a few chapters long and they don't exceed one volume. It's not till later on that the mysteries do go past one volume. I don't think there was any that I disliked, though I will say the one that had the two little girls, that one made me, after that volume, I was like, I will only read this series during the day. Now, I'm a big chicken. I wouldn't say this is a scary series, but that one did spook me out a little bit when I read it at night, and I said, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to do that again. I think that's the most spookiest one in my opinion as well. But again, I am a very big chicken and I'm very sensitive to scary things, even if it's just mystery, and that's all it is. But yeah, I love this one and would highly recommend it. It's one I really wanted to do a video review on before the year ended, and unfortunately just did not happen the way I wanted it to. I'm hoping next year to do sort of maybe a poll every other month and be like, hey, which of these series should I reread and then do a review of, because that's one of my personal goals, is for all the manga that I own, that at some point I have to do a video review to keep them in my collection, because I just like being able to point back at videos and say, hey, I reviewed this if you're curious of my thoughts on it. Plus, it just makes me personally happy. So yeah, if you're looking for something set in the past that's not the Meiji era, which does seem to be a very popular era that fiction stories take place in, which I do enjoy that era, but if you want something different, so the Showa era, if you want a lot of mystery and that being the focus, and you want some really great conversations that happen among the leads with Kaneko and Soma, but also with other individual characters, again, just sort of explore the right and wrong of lying and other themes and topics that come up. It has some really great humor as well. I love the humor in this series. Then yeah, this is definitely a must read. I don't know how hard or easy it is to find out in the wild wild, but I do know that you can easily buy it online. It's just, I feel it's really harder to find Usatoki Rhetoric, and it's such a shame because everybody I know who's tried this has really enjoyed it. It's such an unexpected gem. And for number 5, this one is very different. Like, let's say you know that this person that you're wanting to gift a historical read to, or maybe just for yourself as well, that they love gritty titles. They want something more mature. They want adults as the main cast of characters. Then Firefly Wedding. I still have not read past volume 1. I was going to check out volume 2 and I think volume 3 for my library, but I didn't go back to my library here very recently, and I need to because I have books I need to return. But this is about our main female lead. I forget her name, but she has a heart condition and she knows she has limited time left. How much time that is, we really don't know. I don't know if it says later on in the series, but at least in the beginning, we don't know. And her father would really love to see her get married before, unfortunately, he passes or she passes. So she is starting to see different potential candidates for who she could potentially end up marrying. And as all this is happening, she unexpectedly gets kidnapped. And as she's in this jail cell where she is with a potential assassin, she tells him like, hey, I have a noble standing here and my family can pay you big money if you free me. And he's like, no, they said that's not what to do. So she does one last thing that's so like, wow. She's like, hey, will you marry me? He is surprised by her offer, but he takes her offer seriously, even though inside we see from her point of view that she was just saying it just to, you know, not die right at that moment of things that were happening. To her dismay, as I said, he takes it very seriously. And yeah, so now she is engaged, soon to be married to an assassin who she is very afraid of. And so begins their love story because it is a romantic series. I do have a first impression of volume 1. You guys voted for it earlier this year, and it is a very gripping and engaging first volume. It definitely has some blood, so if you're sensitive to that, you know, just be very mindful. A few times I was like, oh, you know, but I have actually read ahead of the physical volumes, probably not now, honestly, but I have in the past, before it was physically licensed, I was reading on Comic-Key because there is no good stopping place in this series. I was incredibly amazed by our heroine because she's having to make these super quick decisions that really mean life or death for her right in that moment. She is like courageously making these decisions. I mean, the girl could be having a straight breakdown if she wanted to, but I feel that's not something she's choosing to do. That's not to say she's not struggling, because she is, but it's like she just finds this determination to keep living despite that her circumstances are so vastly different of how her life was before and what it is right now. And so yeah, it is very different than all of the other ones. It does have cute moments. Like, I will say, despite that with the male lead, there's times where I'm like, girl, you need to run away. I don't know how you could run away because you want to be able to, but you need to try. You need to try. And there's other times where I'm like, oh my goodness, he's so cute, girl. You need to stick with him. There's a really unique balance there, at least the first volume alone. If you want something that's not fluffy, but does have cute moments and really, I feel like, keeping you on the edge of your seat, because I do feel like there's a foreshadowing in the opening pages to something that will happen later on. The series has 3 more chapters left. We'll talk more about that in my manga news video coming up this following Monday, but there's 3 more chapters left, and I don't know how the series ends, but I hope it's a good one. I hope it's a good one. I think the story, the journey would definitely be worth it regardless of whatever happens. There's a lot of different consequences to our female lead's actions, so if you're wanting to see what is she going to do when she's just thrusted into this crazy situation, having a crazy male lead take her offer of getting married very seriously, and even when she's like, you know, I just was just saying that, he ain't saying no, he ain't going away, then yeah, this is a really engaging series, and it is hard to believe that's ending soon. Like, I mean, I know that the creator mentioned it would be soon, but to know it's actually happening is really surreal. Sort of like, you know, of the Dawn, somebody mentioned that December is gonna be the month where it ends. I'm like, but let's talk about good things, right? Good, happy things. So I do have one honorable mention. Almost forgot because I was going to close out this video. I won't talk long about it because it is, unfortunately, I think, pretty hard to find. But Primitive Boyfriend. Oh my goodness, I love this series. I have a video review. My friend Brie gifted me the first volume, I think it was, and then I bought the second 2 volumes used, or I feel like she gifted me at least one of these volumes. If you're looking for a historical short series that goes across time, like 2.5 million years ago to when humans were starting to cultivate civilization, and then a little bit later, but still a prehistoric era, y'all, this is it, because our female lead is just sort of fed up with the modern guys of today, and I think it's the goddess of the harvest. Here's her cry, here's her prayer or her plea, and it's like, okay, I'll help you find him, and that's when she goes back in time, and she has to find, not her soulmate, but the guy that she has been sort of looking for, but can't find in the modern era. I love volume 3, it's my favorite. I cry every single time I come back to this volume because it's just so emotional and so touching. So if you want something that's very quirky, and again, goes across the span of time from the beginning, more or less, to the modern day era, this is one I would highly recommend. You probably could find it pretty easily used. I hope so. It was at the time when I got my other volumes. It wasn't too hard to find, but yeah, I love it, and I just had to mention it. That is my gift guide that I have for people who are fans of historical reads. I hope that you feel that each of these series fit in a unique way and across a variety of readers, because I didn't want to do all fluffy, even though you guys know I love fluffy reads. But yeah, let me know, what series would you suggest to somebody who's wanting to gift a historical manga to somebody? Yeah, what would you suggest or just even recommend? Let me know down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!